Welcome everybody to the beautiful Waikato region for this, the first match of the first day of the 2020 New Zealand 1 Division 1 Mixed Ultimate Championships. Here, the clash in Kirikiriroa. My name is Blair Monroe.
And I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we are here to watch the Massey University Ultimate Club Chargers tackling Old Boys Sports Club, as 12 teams from around the country have collected in Hamilton in Kirikiriroa to battle it out for the top spot, the honour of being the best ultimate team in the country.
Interesting matchup here. We've got two really strong teams coming out. Really a lot of youth coming out here. We're excited to see fresh legs. It's the first game today, Friday. So we're stoked to see a lot of fire coming out. Now, talking with Old Boys Club before the match, they definitely highlighted that one thing they want to start out this tournament is bringing fire on the field, especially against a really young, youthful team here. NZMUC mentioned that they also really want to start looking at their women. They want to utilize their women here. So we're going to see a lot of athleticism, a lot of legs, and hopefully a really great matchup to start the tournament.
We're seeing Massey coming out on defense. Anthony Haney with the pull, sends the disc long.
And looks like Old Boys starting in a vertical stack here, quickly transitioning to a zone offense.
Anadola, number 42, finds a reset, drops the disc back center field, swinging to the near sideline now.
Beautiful slow chilly movements at the moment from Old Boys. They're definitely making their throws with intention, which is good to see.
The Old Boys tip defensive opportunity now for the Massey team to come through with a break, scoring the first point of the game.
Nice big look, and contested on defense by number 57. Not sure who that one is.
Old Boys to take possession again. A lot of these players coming through the Auckland University Ultimate Club, progressing to a club of their own, so really bringing a lot of that experience as well as the youth and athleticism that we're going to see from them throughout the course of this game.
Now, one thing I was surprised about, actually, to learn about the Old Boys Club is that as they're coming through the university program, the Old Boys refers to actually the alumni. Since they've graduated, they're now the Old Boys. Quick transition on defense.
A timeout called.
Now, it's interesting to see a timeout called this early in the game. Scoring the first point of the game, especially for NZMUC right now on defense, would be really a great move for them to bring momentum and score that point again that they started on defense. So that transition would be great. That said, it is surprising to see it called so early, so we'll see what they can get out of it.
At their regional qualifying tournament, a matchup between these two teams ended up going quite heavily in favour of the Old Boys, so this really is a crucial game for Massey to start the tournament with. Calling a timeout this early, one of the key things, aside from giving them an opportunity to really just settle their heads and make sure they're all on the same page, players don't have to return to the positions they were occupying beforehand. So it lets them get a little bit of a positional reset, which they might be able to use once they've set their offense. They'll figure out exactly how they want to work around the Old Boys defense and maybe get the first break and the first score of the game.
That said, it's also interesting to see what can happen on defense. So it gives you a chance to reset on offense, but a timeout here also gives the defense a chance to maybe switch the marks, so forcing the disc to the other side of the field. We've got a slight downwind, which will be coming from the left of your screen, blowing to the right. It's not very strong at the moment, but playing with the defense here, maybe putting on a zone or switching up the mark, could be an interesting way to also keep that offense on their toes.
So even with Massey calling the timeout, it's the Old Boys to break the huddle first. We see their 7 players, their original offensive line, just holding space, waiting for Massey to get set up. Looks like Massey are going to be coming out in a vertical stack, pushing that vertical stack to the very back end of the far zone, creating channels on the left and right side of the field from the player's perspective to give them as much space as possible to try and attack.
Well, it looks like the players are getting set. I'm wondering what they're running here. It's hard to tell if it's an ISO or a handler dump. Beautiful clean point to start the game.
Joshua Cook with the assist. Beautiful, just nice floaty backhand, giving his receiver plenty of time to just get involved, get the separation, and bring down that score. 1-0 to Massey.
And again, to touch on this point, that's a really great way to start the game for them, again, because they started on defense, so transitioning that into the first point of the game is a great start for them. We'll see if Old Boys can bring out the fire for the second offensive point here.
Now, it is going to be a little bit difficult for Massey. As you pointed out, we do have a slight left to right breeze, which means that Massey are going to be coming out playing into the wind. That puts the wind at the back of the Old Boys. It adds just maybe an extra 5 or so meters to each of their long throws if they need it. And it also means that if Massey do manage to get a turn, as they did in that first point, it's that much harder for them to work the disc back up the field.
Absolutely. So an interesting point to that is I wonder what we're going to see out of the defense here, because it's a downwind offensive point. So zone, we could be seeing Massey coming out with a zone on defense, but that also could be dangerous given that the wind is at their backs. So will be interesting to see if they go for the matchup, running person defense, or if they decide to mark the space instead.
Old Boys take the line, give the signal for readiness. Huge pull goes up. The pressure is on the Old Boys now, the Auckland team. Lee on the far sideline, back to Saw.
So they are coming down with a zone here. And as mentioned, this does open up the potential for some really nice deep looks. So we'll see if Old Boys they're being really chill with the disc right now, making really clean throws to open players. We'll see if they do end up stretching the field with the wind at their backs.
Nice disc work by the Old Boys, slowly just chipping away. Short, controlled, clinical passes, just finding holes in the defensive zone and picking through them. Anadola near sideline now. Forced to look back towards the middle.
So we've got Jason with, Jason Saw with the disc now. And moving to Tan. These two handlers, they're working really well together. That's Saw and Tan making great swing passes. Beautiful lefty backhands.
To go over the top of the zone. Again, zones, they're busy trying to cover space rather than cover a player. And there's a huge benefit for that in that it does create opportunities to trickle over the top and create space for the Old Boys to just chip straight through for a nice, comfortable score. Beautiful clinical ultimate, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would say that was I guess I would say quintessential zone offense there. That's really what you want to be doing when another team throws zone defense against you. When they're running a zone against you, is you want to make those clean, intelligent decisions, which is what Old Boys really did there. You can definitely tell they've been training and working on that, and it's really showing through in their collected, calm decision making, resulting in a beautiful point. Another thing I really like to see in that point was that Old Boys were definitely looking across the field to the women as well as their primary handlers, which also included women. They're really using all the players on the field, which is nice to see.
That is the main thing to remember. It is mixed ultimate, so a 7-a-side sport where there are both seasons dedicated to single gender, the open and women's season, or mixed gender, as we're seeing here. In my experience, and I could be wrong, it's been known to happen, but in my experience, the team that uses their women better tends to win more mixed ultimate games. It's one of the few sports where you genuinely do see men and women competing on an equal level, and it's really, really important that both opposition and the teams themselves respect that. And so Old Boys doing a great job passing the women. Haney picking up the disc, starting the play, far sideline now.
So we've switched here to a person defense. So Massey is responding with a vertical stack, spreading across the field. And that's one of those classic downwind throws that we're going to see with the wind at your back. You do have a bit more positivity, push to make those decisions.
Nice, beautiful undercut by Al.
Resulting also in a beautiful huck. Strong defense there, feisty defense, resulting in a turnover.
Looks like there's been a call made, so Anthony Haney, number 42 for Massey, potentially contact made. James Crosby for the Old Boys. Just having a quick discussion. It's important to remember that Ultimate is a self-officiated sport. At all but the highest levels, it's the players themselves who make and determine the decisions that happen when there are incidents like this.
As a result of that, spirit of the game is a really important part of Ultimate Frisbee. And at the end of this tournament, we'll not only be coming out with a winner of the tournament itself, but also a spirit winner. So all the teams in the tournament are vying for that, trying to play as spirited a game as possible.
So after that discussion, the foul call was retracted. Haney's to pick up the disc center field, coming down against the Old Boys zone. Really looking to take away space. Just use that wind as an additional defender, perhaps. Haney on the far sideline now. Big crossfield hammer. Coburn's looking for it.
Didn't quite come down with it.
Hannah Au. Big fake, trying to shift the defense, trying to create opportunities for her team for that crucial second point of the game. Holman with a run-through D.
Resulting in another D. Always one of those really strong athletic players, and I expect to see a lot of her in this game. She's already been throwing up some beautiful throws, and also they're looking, just charging downfield for the point. She's not afraid to get involved.
Crosby gets the wind underneath it. It's a speculator.
Just a bit too far. It sounds like a pick may have been called on the field. It's a turnover.
So when a pick is called, it's generally because there's the potential for non-contact but still player interference, preventing a defender from following the person they were marking. If a pick is called, the pass has to be completed. Otherwise, in this case, the call can be retracted and the turnover in this case stands. So Holman taking center stage. Marked out by Au in the cup. She's very hungry on the defense. A high backhand goes over the top. Crosby's just out of range.
Beautiful safe catch. And we've got another D.
Chalk another one up for Hannah Au, just putting in the finest of work on this defensive line for the Old Boys.
Absolutely.
Alice Logan. A beautiful crisp forehand to Crosby in the zone for a score.
So that was a slightly longer point, is somewhat unsurprising again with the winds there, which can make throws, play with them in ways that you don't expect as a thrower. So we saw a few turnovers, and also in the zone we saw some turnovers happening just with the defense putting that pressure on around the disc, which is why you're putting on a zone defense, to put that pressure on the thrower itself. So the wind is that extra defender on the field, as was mentioned, definitely I think had a part to play in that slightly longer point there. Old Boys coming out with a clean one to finish it off.
Absolutely beautiful ultimates. What we love to see here, certainly on the first day of a tournament, even nicer to see it on the third day of the tournament. Those who were with us last week in Christchurch will have seen the impact that wind can have, even on high-level ultimate. It can make things that much more difficult. Throwing into the wind, you can often lose as much gain up the field as you were hoping to get. A pass that might go 5-10 meters forward, catching the lip of the wind, getting pushed back 15-20, and just making it that much harder to make any progress up the field. Now, we saw Old Boys before making really nice clinical short passes to chip away at that Massey zone. And that's really, really textbook offense when it comes to playing through the wind. Crosby with a massive pull downfield, received by Haney.
And centered to Gordon. Haney with the disc again.
Whitehead with a nice undercut, resetting to Savage.
Oh, just a bit too low. That was a bit of an ankle biter of a throw. Now, when it is windy like this, you also want to tend to keep your throws low. Got another big hug downfield, nommed up for breakfast.
And you could see even with the lip of that disc facing the wind, it had a nice upward trajectory and then almost dropped out of the sky like a stone. And so when winds aren't consistent, when they're gusty, it just adds that extra layer of complexity, which really, really useful for the defense and very frustrating for the offense. A monster hug from Anthony Haney.
Beautiful catch, too. We have to remember this is...
Shepherd with a continuation. Hard to read in the wind.
going upwind. So it was really impressive to see them stretching the field there. And that's the type of pressure you want to be putting on a zone 2, reminding them that, hey, even though we've got the wind against us right now, we do have the capability and the power to still put the disc where we want to put it on the field.
Monique Connolly, number 71 for Massey, a beautiful offensive positioning to get that continuation after Shepherd received the shot.
And another big up from O. And a connection.
Crosby again just absolutely eating up these zone shots for the Old Boys. A nice little post-point celebration by the Old Boys.
Absolutely.
Now Massey with a beautiful first point, really fantastic defense coming out, managing to score a break, really setting the tone for the game, but they've fired up the Old Boys, and we're seeing the Old Boys with a little bit of a resurgence, coming back 3 points essentially unanswered. So it's an opportunity now for Massey to really reevaluate what it was about their play that let them get that first break and see whether or not they can bring that same energy out for this next point.
Definitely. And another good thing I'm seeing out on the field right now is, I gotta say, clean ultimate, and it's safe. I know that Old Boys Club definitely had issues with this in previous games. They had a lot of injuries coming out. What was it, the tournaments, the Tamaki Throwdown tournament, they were having a lot of their guys injured, over and over. So what I'm seeing here is, there have been discs that have been floaty, and everyone on the field is being safe about the ways in which they're playing those slightly iffy throws that are up in the air. So it's nice to see that, especially on the first game. A quick turnover. We'll see if Old Boys can make this transition here so close to the end zone. Remember, it's another upwind point here, so they've got to make some clean passes. Oh, with the cut to the break side.
And it looks like they've gone to a match defense, looking to take away the person as opposed to the space. It's just enough pressure. Luke Humphreys gets a hand to it, but it goes to ground.
And it looks like Old Boys is setting an upwind zone here. And that's great she followed up the defensive play there. There's a common phrase in Ultimate Frisbee, catch your Ds. So, if she hadn't followed that up, there's always a chance that on offense they can catch a disc that you've already D'd. So it's great to see her following that up. Looking to center.
Mihi Shepherd with a beautiful takes to the skies to regain possession for Massey. It's exactly as you say, the disc is catchable until it hits the ground. Cook on the far sideline. Watching cuts develop, Nick Smith with a nice cut, one-handed grab. The recently Dr. Smith, the disc doctor himself. Holman with a big shot, brought in by Dr. Smith.
Bringing
an
that
absolute beautiful score.
That fire back a little bit.
And that is exactly what we were hoping to see. So Old Boys had an early turn up the near sideline. Massey were unable to necessarily capitalize. There was a nice attempt at threading it down that near sideline, but huge defensive pressure from Old Boys got them possession back. They tried to keep attacking. Mihi Shepherd shut down that reset option and just carried that momentum through for a nice score, bringing it to 3-2. Still in favor of the Old Boys, but anybody's game.
Definitely anybody's game, and we're definitely seeing that more and more in New Zealand since they've switched to the Division 1, Division 2 mixed structure. All the teams at this tournament, every single one is definitely competitive. And when they're bringing their fire, when they're bringing their energy to the game, it could be their game. And that's what even the most experienced teams need to remember. It's also a really exciting game for Massey. They're definitely bringing the energy to this because with conversations with them before the game, they're the bottom ranked at the tournament, and they're keen to show on a national level that they can participate with the top teams and they could even come away with big wins. They're definitely capable of that.
Massey to come out on defense now. Anthony Haney, the talent from Tennessee, with the pull. Now, he hasn't personally promised me that he's going to lay out during every game of the tournament, but knowing him, it would not surprise me. Saw center field, finds Liang. A nice quick turn for Massey. Hempstead keeps it alive through a bid from the Old Boys.
We're seeing a relatively flat mark on defense, indicating that they're forcing the swings.
A lot of edge on that throw, curving around two Old Boys defenders to find a beautiful score. 3-all, exactly what Massey needed. Another break.
Absolutely. Turning into an exciting first match. We're neck and neck here.
That looked like Athira Kamarunzaman on the score. Absolute beautiful offensive positioning. Just really, really clever ultimate to see. Knowing the turn, recognizing when the disc has changed possession, and finding an opportunity and a position on the field where you know that your thrower can get the disc to you, just making your job a little bit easier and making it just look that little bit more impressive for the folks at home. Now, Kelsey, you mentioned before that Massey were coming in as the lowest seeded team in the tournament, and I think there's a lot of potential there. When people aren't necessarily expecting as much from you as they might from other teams like Marvelous DC or AUC Flood, there's a chance that the other team might play down to the level they're expecting from you. And as we've seen from Massey, managing to go trading points with Old Boys, that they're not the kind of teams who are going to let themselves be taken lightly.
Absolutely not. And that shows a lot of mental resilience there and mental strength to go out and, regardless of the matchup, to give your best game. It can be intimidating when playing against higher teams, you know, to let that get to yourself, to your team, and the way you're playing. But it's great to see here that they're really pushing through, and they're showing they're definitely at whatever level they need to be at to be competitive.
Absolutely. Nice playing from Old Boys, just managing some very short 5-10 meter continuation cuts up that far sideline, overshooting a little bit, giving Shepard the chance to take to the skies and get a nice defensive block. Disc sailing over the tips of the hands of the Old Boys offense. An opportunity now for them to come back the other way, taking the lead for the second time in the game, refusing to let Old Boys 3 points unanswered be the longest streak we see. Cook on the far sideline.
Beautiful initiation undercut there.
It's Bacon with a beautiful position. Drops the disc back, unable to work through that offensive or the defensive mark.
The stack is pushed back quite a bit, which can make it difficult to make those undercuts. They're coming from a bit farther away. They're struggling, again, to make those connections. There we go. Once again, she's running the underfield here.
Still pushing up that far sideline, trying to get the disc a bit more center field.
Oh, just a slight bobble there, resulting in a turn.
That Old Boys defensive pressure, just making those windows a little bit narrower, a little bit harder to throw to. Some of the Massey players might not have the same disc experience that our offense on Old Boys have. Big, huge shot going up. Rutan comfortably walks it into his hands. And really, if the Old Boys defense are able to capitalize on that, they're going to recognize when the Massey throwers might not have as much confidence and put a really aggressive mark on there, which can cause a Massey team to lose quite a few yards as they look for a safe throw to retain possession, but in doing so, losing position down the field.
Right. Interesting point there. I gotta say, when you are catching an upwind, slightly longer throw like that, it is really nice to have that space because there's no telling what is going to happen with the disc bouncing up and down. So it was a really clean, safe catch. I could see he was probably pleased that he had a extra second just to see it into his hands.
So Old Boys to bring out the defensive line. We're seeing James Crosby, a man who's already scored 2 of their 4 points this game. Number 24, left side of the screen, about to send up a big disc. The wind at his back, making it just that much more difficult for the Massey team, and a great opportunity if the Old Boys defense can cause a turn to just have a short distance up the field to work for another score. Beautiful pull, a lot of float on it to the far edge, just out of bounds.
So at this point, because the disc went out of bounds, they're going to bring it, looks like, to the brick mark. So that's in the middle of the field, and that's kind of the penalty that you get when you do pull the frisbee out of bounds. It makes it easier for Massey on offense to start in the middle of the field. They have much more space to work with. And it looks like they're setting a zone. So Massey is going to run their structure out of the vertical stack. This may have been a pull play that they called when they were on the sideline with each other. And now they're switching into their zone offense.
That zone, the defense from the Old Boys managing to push far to the sideline, but they go over the top. Bit of a speculator under triple coverage. The disc favoring the offense. Aaron Whitehead pulls it down. Big fake, trying to shift the cup, working the disc, just trying to tire out those three hungry chasers and give Massey an opportunity.
And an interesting point here in the zone is that when the disc does go to the far side of the field, the downwind side, they have an assassin. It looks like O is upwind there, assassinating that dump, that upwind dump, which can make it so much harder to swing, and as we see here, has resulted in the turnover.
Old Boys just working those same clinical passes, not going for big gains, just looking for consistency. Julia Ford finding Hamish Ford.
We've got the fridgeware here, Fisher and Peichel, the fridge and the freezer they're handling together. It's said on their team when they start running, those two siblings, they just don't stop.
Hannah Al maybe not having made that switch back to defense. It comes off the fingertips. Long shot from Aaron Whitehead. Crosby's trying to get underneath it. He's got the height advantage.
And cleaned up.
And a cheeky few meters of yardage gain for that team as well. Rather than knocking the disc further towards the defensive end zone, just using that field awareness to give themselves a little bit of an advantage as they come back out on offense. Alice Logan on the near sideline, able to work it back to James Crosby with a long shot.
Got pressure on defense. This will be an interesting one. Coming down with the points. Beautiful catch there under pressure. That's Guy Rainey, number 40.
And the defensive intensity of Nick Mosslet not quite enough to unsettle the cool heads of the Old Boys as they widen that score gap, as we predicted they might. After that nice point, having the wind at their back, just applying that defensive pressure, and then being able to work the disc back with the wind on their sides.
Now it's interesting here to see with the Old Boys Club, the entire team is coming onto the field to support and also listen to what the strategy is, what's going to happen, and how can they support on the sideline. That can be hugely beneficial when you're on the field, to have your sideline in your ear talking to you, whether it's on defense, when you're on the mark, telling you where they might be looking, or if you're on offense, you know, and you're going to catch the frisbee, to know if you have time to catch it or if you really need to attack that disc. So it's great to see that there's that team support here. The sideline and the support from your sideline, the teammates who are off the field, can really be such an integral part of the game. Same happening over here with Massey. We see the entire team on board and all clearing off the field quickly so they can get started in time as well. Some high fives on the sideline. Again, just highlighting the value of spirit of the game and good sportsmanship.
Holman receives. Looks like Massey coming out in a horizontal offense, trying to use the width of the field to work around what they predicted was going to come down in a zone. Long shot from Holman up the far sideline. Cameroon Zaman just comes off the fingertips. Maybe a little bit overcooked on that throw, just out of position, not able to get hands to it. But now, Old Boys with a long field ahead of them, the wind at their faces, it's settling a little bit, but it's still there. Massey with a great chance.
Shelby Harhoff picking up the disc as a handler and intercepted.
Holman again, just good defensive reading, getting into position.
Can't quite stick with that laser of a throw. Can't quite get there.
Francis Kim losing the hat to shed the extra weight. It's not enough. Finds another gear, still comes up short, but it's a great opportunity for that Old Boys defense to really put the pressure on. They're within the red zone now, only a few meters to work back if they can get a turn close. over the top of the zone. Whitehead. His first point of contact with the ground after securing the disc was the line. Unfortunately for Massey, that constitutes outside the playing field, so it's an automatic turnover.
Oh, beautiful inside-out pass. Looks like it was picked up by the front of the stack there. It's great to see that movement, that decision-making happening.
Kim right on the red zone for a comfortable score.
Cleaning up.
Finding Luke Humphreys with a nice slash cut across the front of the zone. Enough separation that, once again, as we saw before, just having that space to catch what might be a sort of a bit of a wobbly throw. It can be quite hard to get a controlled forehand comfortably to a receiver over a short distance.
Especially upwind, just adding that extra bit of difficulty.
And that really is where we're seeing the old boys' experience and time together and chemistry really come to the front. Going up 3 points against Massey, 6-3 now. And just utilizing that experience and that confidence that they have in each other to reel in what would be difficult scores for a less experienced team, but they make it look pretty easy.
We've got Luke Humphreys here with the pull once again. With the wind at his back, it's sure to be a far one.
The Massey offensive line still on the field, having a bit of discussion, just clearing now for the 7 players to take them into this next point, either letting the score widen even further or narrowing it, clawing back an opportunity for them to pull off the first of what they hope will be a series of upsets. A forehand pull, no less.
Pull, yeah. Looking to center the disc, getting
Smith.
high wind side.
Smith to Hempstead, back to Smith. To Haney, the talent, sends a big shot, a little bit of edge. I think a fingertip from the old boys got to it.
She was in great position to eat that up there, but Humphreys just got there first. Keeping an eye on that deep space, as was his role. And just a bit too far there for Julia Ford to hold on to, resulting in another quick turnover. We'll see if Massey can capitalize on this. They're quite close to the zone at this point.
Low release forehand, just overthrown slightly. Shepherd does have wheels, but maybe not enough to get there in time, or it could have been the wind pushed it out of field.
Or it could have been her hat still on her head there, you know. Slowing her down. We've got a vertical stack here with 2 female handlers. We've got Shelby as well as Julia directing traffic here, running the field.
Just a little bit too much height. Quite a few attempts at the disc, not enough. Massey now. An offensive opportunity, a sorely needed one. Just hoping to scrape back that 3-point deficit that they're working with at the moment. Smith on the far sideline, cupped in. Anthony Haney
for a quick pop there.
Gets looked off. Second attempt. Shot goes up off the fingertips. Kept above the turf by Shepherd again. Looks like there might have been some questionable play there.
Just double checking if it touched the ground. If she had control of the disc, again, before it touched the ground, then it counts as up so they can continue the play. However, if she held on to it when it was touching, the rule is the blades of the grass, so the top of the grass. Then if it touched the grass, the blades of the grass before she had complete control, then it's a turnover. So they're saying it's up.
So excellent communication exhibited by both teams. They come to a nice conclusion, giving Massey another opportunity. Shepherd to Haney on the far sideline, trying to work around that cup, trying to shift it. Lots of fakes, lots of pressure, sends a hammer up, a beautiful look.
It was a massive throw. Didn't quite connect, I think, in the way he wanted. They had 2 players on the upwind side there, but that is a challenging look to make. A cross-field hammer when it's entirely in the direction the wind is coming. It's really tempting to bite on those, and I think he definitely had the power to throw it, but again, the wind just makes it that much more difficult to hit those those two open players who were ready to make that catch.
As they walk the disc back to the front of the zone to reinitiate play, giving every player just a few seconds as they switch back between offense and defense, really get themselves ready, knowing what they've got to do.
And we had an interesting switch on defense there, which resulted in a quick deep look. Looks like they're sticking with the safe handler reset.
Humphreys with a big rip. It's got a lot of height to it. It's going to give plenty of time for players to get underneath. It's fading back.
Zesty throw resulting in a great catch, great read.
Alice Logan, beautiful reception there. Just making sure everything was nice and controlled. Hannah Au sends one high, the lips up.
And safe hands, great catch by Luke Humphreys, resulting in another point by the Old Boys Club.
Now, our games today are played to 15 points, which means that a halftime will be called, giving each team an opportunity to decompress, to sort of consider how they played in the first half and what they need to do for the second half. But that happens when the first team reaches 8 points. With the score now 7-3 in favor of the Old Boys, they are one defensive break away from taking half and the psychological advantage that comes with it. There's a huge amount of momentum to be gained by being the first team to take half, to really have applied, poured on that pressure.
And it can be great to take half like that, but also what can be ideal is when you take half, if you started the game on defense, you're going to start the second half on offense. So nothing is better than taking halftime on offense and then coming out offensively just for another point. So here we had Massey start out on defense. They scored the first point of the game, so they'll be coming out on offense for the second half. So if Old Boys do take half, if they win this, then they'll be coming out for a defensive point, probably looking for a really quick transition and taking that second point.
But we've seen the amount of work that their zone can put in, a huge amount of pressure. A low pull finds turf just a little past the halfway line. So less of a field for Massey to work up. Gordon to Whitehead. Cuts developing downfield.
It's really covered space. It can be, again, really tempting when you have those options, you have the wind at your back, and you're feeling that the throw is calling to you to see those open players downfield, but there was strong defense next to them. The space was a bit clogged up, and the wind did carry it just a bit too far.
So Old Boys now with an opportunity to take half. A long field ahead of them, and the wind at their faces. So the field is going to seem just that little bit longer.
And we're seeing person matchups now instead of a zone, which is always nice to see that individual 1v1. Struggling to make movement. Beautiful undercut.
Dolan to Parker. Nice disc work by the Old Boys. Very crisp throws, finding their receivers comfortably.
Beautiful break throw by Ing.
Grayson Lee sends one long. Joel Gordon with the intercept. Immediately reinitiates. And back again by Rutan.
I don't even know if he transitioned to defense there. It seems like he was still running through.
Kemi Leung looking for Anna Dolan just beyond the outstretched hands. Massey now, an opportunity to close out the point. We know they've got the length on the throws. We know they've got the foot speed. Mickey Shepherd.
There's not much happening downfield here, so she didn't have a lot of options to look to. There weren't many continuation cuts, a bit of stagnance. I think Old Boys defense definitely clamping down on those options, making it just a bit harder, resulting in a turnover there.
Good disc attack to secure it. And taking half, Eunice Ing with the score. So the score currently 8-3 in favor of the Old Boys.
Now we've taken half, but one thing I have been surprised is that it would be a good time. It would have been a good time for Massey to take a timeout. You know, when the other team has had a few points on you, you know, you've started out strong and you're just not quite connecting in the same way. It can be good to take time, to reset, think about what you can improve and how you can really, shift mentally after, getting scored on a few times. So hopefully this halftime provides them a space to talk as a team, really reset and bring out that same energy that they started with.
So we will be back with you shortly when play resumes after halftime. It is day one, game one of the New Zealand Division 1 Mixed Ultimate Championships here. The clash in Kirikiriroa in beautiful, sunny Hamilton, New Zealand. My name is Blair Monroe.
And I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we'll be back shortly. And we are back for the opening of the second half of this, the first match between the Old Boys Sports Club and the Massey University Ultimate Club Chargers. Massey coming out on offense, 5 points down after a first half that saw the Old Boys just score consistent clinical points. My name is Blair Monroe.
And I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we are your eyes and ears on the ground as we see this. The Massey offensive line picking up the disc, looking to establish a bit of momentum and narrow down that margin Old Boys have spent the first half of the game establishing.
So it looks like they're coming out with the same zone on defense that they've been running, which means they have confidence there that, you know, it's still effective. Massey's still trying to figure out how to unlock what they've locked down here.
Aaron White hit a confident thrower, forced to a high stall count, goes for the hammer attempt, and James Crosby gets a hand to it.
Looks like there might be an issue with the disc. In Ultimate Frisbee, we say it might be tacoed, which means simply that it might be bent out of shape. And when you're throwing, you want to be throwing with a good disc that holds its shape. So that hand block may have had a lot of pressure on it. We'll see if there's a substitute or if it is deemed good enough to continue play with.
That is absolutely a highlight he's going to go back home and want to watch later.
Absolutely.
So Old Boys now 15, 20 meters away from their zone, a great scoring opportunity ahead of them. Luke Humphreys goes to the skies to get one up. High edge forehand.
Cleaned up in the backfield there.
Despite the attempts of two Massey defenders to get into position.
I think
not enough.
Was looking for Crosby there for the point, but it just went a little bit farther. And Rainey caught that for the point. Always great to have that backfield support. And, you know, he does have the nickname you can see on the field there. They're flapping away. The Seagull himself. He's known to clean up the rubbish, which he did. The throw could have been, you know, just a bit cleaner, but, you know, cleaned it up right there. And also, he's known to fly like a bird, so I hear.
Old Boys coming out of the halftime break with a strong defensive showing that sees them widen the scoreboard even more. 9-3 now. Defense again, Luke Humphreys to take the disc with the pull. The Massey offensive line just taking an opportunity to get everybody's heads on board. The rest of the team clears the field. The score might be down, but their spirits certainly are not. There's still a lot of energy left to see from this Massey team.
Some great upwind throw. You see it bouncing around a bit. Put on the sideline, centered easily.
Holman and Cook just trying to work the disc up, knowing that that wind's going to prevent them making massive throws. Coburn gets a nice break reception.
And cleans it up. While that was a wonderful D, you see his hands to the head of it there, because while it was a great defensive play, he did knock the disc back just a few yards. So they're going, when Shelby's picking it up here, she's going to have to bring it up to the end zone line, giving Massey just those few extra meters to lock down on that defense. Because if they can get a turnover here, they just need that quick transition to turn it into a point for them.
Beautiful offensive showing by Massey, just coming a little bit high, just giving the Old Boys an opportunity to convert possession and then get back to the same thing that we've seen them do, just working the disc clean. Holman with a run through D. Looks like a call's been made.
Looks like from the hand signals they're indicating contact was made. No contest.
So possession returns to number 39, Francis Kim, wearing his hat again. High shot, out of bounds, coming back with a massive bid. Beautiful shot by Connolly, just getting possession back, finding the time to get underneath the disc, keeping it out of the hands of the Old Boys. Holman on the near sideline now. Shepard with a beautiful slash cut, high shot goes up.
And that blade on it looks like he's trying to drop it down just right. Nailed it perfectly, you know.
Matt Schroeder denied a beautiful catch before by the impressive defensive efforts of Luke Humphreys. Finds himself in perfect position to get the score that Massey need to keep themselves in the game. Be proud of yourself, young man. That was a beautiful score.
It was well put. Again, when you do throw the blade on the disc like that, when it's not flying flat, when it's at an angle, it's easier to drop it down just where you want it to. So especially helpful when you're trying to find that one player and just put it right on top of them. However, they can be a bit more difficult to catch. So it was a great point, easily held on to there.
Massey with a cheeky celebration. One they've certainly earned. Yes, the score is still 9-4, but as we said at the beginning, it's anybody's game. The game is not over until, in most instances, that 15-point mark is reached. So there's still plenty of opportunity for Massey to apply a lot of defensive pressure. Hope that the old boys will tire themselves out, that with the level of fitness and athleticism we've seen from them thus far, that doesn't look likely. A nice high pull, giving the defense lots of opportunity to get into position. Nick Smith shutting down the first pass from Saw to Lee.
They're coming down in a zone again. 3 people around the disc. So this is the exact same zone as Old Boys has been running as well. So that's 3 people around the disc. We've got a few downfield and then 1 deep player. Beautiful catch there. A little bit of an action roll with the momentum.
And Adolan takes to the ground. Again, that same disc work that we've seen dropping around behind the cup around the person with the disc, trying to cut through it with low release backhands underneath the arms of the defenders. Cutting back through, Grayson Lee on the near sideline, signaling.
Now, one thing that is interesting with this zone, bringing it back to that conversation, is that while it's definitely slowing down Old Boys Club, making them be a bit more intentional with their throws. They're holding the disc for a second longer. It can be interesting. It can be a bit challenging to throw the exact same zone that the other team is playing against you. And the reason for this is because you know the other team has been practicing this, and because they've been practicing that zone, they know how to play against it quite well. So we'll see if they have any other zones, in the back pocket that they might be bringing out. But Old Boys is really just cutting through this cleanly.
Lee absolutely dominating that point, just putting in his height, his reach, the consistency of throws to chip away at the Massey zone, managing to assist on that one. Just really quarterbacking that point for the Old Boys. (10-3) to the Old Boys Sports Club. A long game ahead for Massey if they pour on that defensive pressure now. The end in sight, the finish line for the Old Boys in their first match. This really is going to set the tone for the tournament for both teams. Massey coming in, as we said, with that low seed, but a great potential for an upset.
I am really excited for Massey, though, and I think I've seen greater upsets, and I really think they do have the potential to put the foot on the gas pedal and take it. Go on a run for a few points. They've got the athleticism, and they've got the throws, they've got the power to command and direct the field. The pressure from Old Boys, especially on defense, has really been shutting down a few of their key cuts, but, if Old Boys lets up, I think Massey really could capitalize. So I'm excited to see. Still, they definitely are in this game, but also really bodes well for the rest of the tournament.
Once again, monster pull from the Old Boys. A little bit of edge, not caught with a huge roll. Exactly what Old Boys need. You can see them just pounding down the field to try and apply that same defensive pressure, gaining as much yards, putting Massey on the back foot.
So because the disc there rolled into the back of the end zone, out of the end zone, he got to bring it up to the line.
Francis Kim, good defensive positioning, manages to shut down that attempt at a long throw.
Good pressure on defense there.
Trying to make that stall count just a little bit high. The player marking the thrower has 10 seconds before the thrower has to let go of the disc. Bobbles out of the hands of Guy Rainey. Aaron Whitehead cleans that up. Scuba crossfield finds Holman trying to work that near sideline, a little bit overthrown. Bacon with good positioning, good chase, but not enough.
Now, what is interesting, as I was mentioning before, to see the way they have transitioned this zone, it looks like they're running more with the 2 people in the cup and setting an assassin on the reset. A lot of pressure on the disc here, but also stopping. Goes for the bid just a bit too far.
Shelby Harhoff just having to battle against the wind. You could see the wind just teasing the disc out of her hands as she went for it. Massive backhand.
Beautiful energy, just a bit too far. I think it was a great decision, but not more of one of those plays where you want someone to be there. Hey, this is where you should head to, as opposed to actually connecting with the teammates.
I think Massey might have been looking to gain territory and apply pressure with that zone. Contact, uncontested.
So the stall is dropping to 0 now.
But again, a big shot, giving the territorial opportunity for that zone to really apply the pressure. Big fakes trying to cue the offense to keep moving, to try and shift the marks.
Beautiful upwind swings. Oh, cleaning up the disc again there.
Just keeping it just above the tips of the blades of grass. We're on the near sideline now. A lot of pressure. Bid from Holman. Opens up a bit of space. Old boys start working back through the zone, swinging the disc to the far sideline, back to the near sideline.
They're really relying on the handlers here offensively. They're swinging the disc a lot, but one thing that I think they could do a bit more of is bring in those popping cuts, those middle cuts. They're really capitalizing on the holes in the cup. They're finding the right players, but it's much less of a give and go, much more of a finding the right player, which means you need to rely on really good solid throws, which old boys do really have. As you see here, though, there's much less movement downfield, and they're more just trying to find the gaps as opposed to create the quick movement, slicing through the cup there.
Forward to Logan. Beautiful cup breaking that we're seeing there. Hannah Au. Kim shifting the mark, keeping that disc moving. In the red zone, a shot goes a little bit low. Aaron Whitehead applying a bit of pressure.
Not quite connecting there.
Massey, having lost all the territory they gained off that massive backhand we saw earlier, now forced to work back up the field, just like Sisyphus, the rock rolling back down the hill.
So we've got 2 women dropping deep here, splitting the deep, and he's cleaning it up. Great D by Francis Kim.
Just utilizing that height and athleticism mismatch, having Francis Kim on Mel Hempstead to return possession to the old boys, who are going to keep working the disc back as we've seen them do.
Bit of deja vu here. Just like the previous possession, they're finding the open players, slicing through the cup, and really just relying on their experience and throwing skills to put the disc exactly where they want it, despite the wind, and to find the players.
Kim and Ford keep working it. We can see that as that disc approaches the near sideline, those short passes don't have as much spin on them. They're a little bit wobblier. They're harder to throw. Alice Logan.
A lot of pressure on the disc here. Oh, manages to jump it in. Great footwork there. That was the freezer. Hamish Ford, the freezer. Once he's going, you can't stop him. Just walking the disc right in, jumping, knowing where his feet are, finding the line there and jumping it in for a quick point.
Absolutely textbook indoor ultimate, really, there.
Absolutely.
The majority, in most instances, you'll see players making scores, catching the disc in stride. When the game is played indoors, typically on something like a basketball court, it's very, very sort of more short, focused and snappy. But plays like that, just catching the disc in midair and using your momentum to carry you across a sort of half-meter jump into the zone so that your first point of contact would constitute a score. Absolutely beautiful to see on the outdoor field, just making sure that things stay fresh. Old boys recognizing that even though Massey are pouring on the pressure, that they do have the knowledge and the Frisbee experience to work through it.
Right, absolutely. And that is actually a great crossover skill that you can get from playing indoor. Focus a lot more on the footwork, working in the small spaces, while it can lead to developing skills that maybe are a bit more risky in outdoor. For example, throwing high overhead passes, throws that really just, are big, they're in the area, and indoor you don't have to deal with the wind, you don't have to deal with the elements. So that can be dangerous, but here we're seeing a great crossover when that's just footwork, finding space and jumping into it. Also here we're seeing Massey, as I commented before, they are taking that timeout. They're taking the timeout, I think, to reset They know they're still in this, and we see that great energy sprinting to the end zone. Who can be first on the line? It's great that they're bringing this out. They still know they are in this game, absolutely. And with that energy, with that timeout, just resetting, thinking about where they are and what they want to do and how to get there, and bringing that to the end zone is really, really exciting to see. Definitely a veteran move. We'll see if Old Boys can keep this momentum going. Their clean, sharp passes, their pressure on defense, both person and zone, shutting down Massey's offense and scoring the points, really resulting in the points from that. We'll see if they can continue this going, especially after this mental reset, getting everyone on the same page, or if Massey can capitalize on that and bring the points out.
Massey offense looking to prove that momentum is nothing in the face of a positive attitude. Nice long pull.
And speeding down on defense to really put that pressure on.
Cook to Haney. Front edge, it drops back. Cameroon's man just out of position. Maybe not enough fade on that disc to catch and maybe recover from that upwind throw. Old Boys a short distance to work, taking it to 11 points for them. Within 4 points of victory. No, it's 11 off the previous. It'd be 12. Yeah. Tammy Liang, Grayson Lee, we've seen him drive the Old Boys offense up until this point a lot of the time, just chipping through that zone, making those passes by himself every second or third touch on the disc. Liang keeps it alive.
She does beautiful throws there. Oh, and straight into the defense. Or was it that the defensive player, I'm not sure, can't see her number there, knew exactly where she needed to be and just resulted. We've got some quick transitions happening here. And I think a bit of confusion there. Number 8 thought he'd scored the point. Cleaned up by Grayson. Sorry, that was soft. Looked like thought he'd caught that and scored the points, and ended up assisting a beautiful point to Grayson Lee.
So we have gone 12-4 by the looks.
Also just clarifying, I think before that was Jackie Tonke who was on Massey. The disc went a bit too far for her. Just clarifying names.
An absolutely beautiful defensive positioning by Tonke. Just reading that throw, getting in possession, full body, just blocking that throwing lane, making sure that Massey get another opportunity. Old Boys defensive pressure, just a little bit too much on that point, securing another turn and able to convert that to a score to widen the margin just a little bit further. 8 points ahead now still as the window closes. Massey's spirits remain high. There is still a chance for the comeback train to pull into the station. We're seeing the signal of readiness from the Massey offensive line. Pull with a little bit of edge, going to hit the ground. And the reset's a bit high, but Gordon manages to get there before defensive pressure from the Old Boys causes a turn.
We're seeing a horizontal stack here, and I'm not sure if that's in response to maybe what they thought would be a zone coming down on defense, or if that's something they've decided to transition into playing. Beautiful, epic layout D there. Great to see that energy. You know, they're resulting in an close assisted point. Nonetheless, great to see that energy. You know, when it's easy to get complacent or comfortable on offense, and great to see them still 100% bringing that intensity and not, you know, starting to slip into that complacency if they are in the lead. They're still 100% want to give this game their all, want to keep that fire, the foot on the gas pedal, and it's resulting in some epic defensive plays as we see right there. Definitely something to take with you, not just off the field for this tournament, but, you know, in the back pocket on a rainy day.
Just beautiful athleticism, taking off from the ground, just getting a bobble on the disc. It looked like the Massey offense were going to be able to hold on to it, but just that instability, that insecurity, the pressure from that defense, causing the disc to tumble to the ground. Old Boys very quick to immediately switch back to offense and get close capital on that score. 13-4, 2 points away from an Old Boys victory, 11 points away from the biggest upset we're going to see today. Humphreys with the disc for the Old Boys defensive line. forehand pull. You do love to see it.
We do love to see it.
Managing to catch the Massey defenders running away from the disc, but it goes OB, out of bounds, and so the signal to brick the disc was given. The disc will come in about 18 meters in front of Massey's defensive end zone in the center field.
And it looks like Massey's switched again to a vertical stack this time. A double cut straight off the bat.
Trying to thread through a very narrow window. The disc goes to turf. Old Boy's able to recenter to forward.
Great
Logan,
hands.
poach player, high disc, Humphreys and chasing it down. One-handed grab for the score. We are 1 point away from Old Boys taking this game, the first of the tournament. Very important potential victory for them. Massey, all the pressure in the world for them to hold this next point and keep their ambitions of winning their first game alive. I'll take a moment on the line to just get their heads together. I personally would love to see Massey score this point.
I can say I would as well. It would be a really exciting way to continue to, keep their heads in the game. And they have shown us a really good game thus far. They have some lot of potential to really bring it out there.
I mean, we've seen consistency from them. We know that they have throws. We know that they have catches. The errors that
legs, the power, the energy, some great athleticism.
Absolutely. The errors that we're seeing, the turnovers, the throws that get blocked, it's as much a function of the defensive pressure of the Old Boys as it is any execution that we're seeing from Massey.
Really good point there, definitely. Pressure plus execution can result in, that's what turnovers result in. Out of bounds pull.
Holman looking set to catch, last minute decision to make sure he doesn't make contact with the disc. Bringing it in on that brick mark. Holman and Whitehead in that handler space for the Massey team.
Looks like quite poachy defense downfield. I'm not sure if just the women are running a zone here or looks like a full zone.
Schroeder back to Holman. Just very smart handler work from the Massey team to keep the disc in possession, trying to shift, find holes up. Miscommunication. Cameroon Zaman lets the disc go to ground. Logan with a big score to finish the game. Brilliant performance. Brilliant performance by Old Boys, an impressive effort by the Massey team. But that brings us to the conclusion of our first game of the tournament. My name is Blair Monroe.
And I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And this has been and will continue to be the Division 1 New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships, the final clash in Kirikiriroa in beautiful Hamilton, New Zealand. We will see you soon.